Here we're going to have a look at 2012 C-3, the surface geometry question. Now this is a fairly nice one as they go. Okay, so we see all our roofs here described in terms of pitch. So that's just the angle they go up with. So A and C have a pitch, so that means that's 60 degrees here and 60 degrees here. Okay, B and D are 40 degrees, so that's 40 degrees there. And this guy, if it was to continue all the way down, would be 40 degrees. So that's just what the pitch means on this one. So we're asked to draw the plan, the elevation, okay, piece together any of the missing pieces. We want to figure out where E is and look at the dihedral between B and E. All right. Now, when we look at dihedrals, one thing to remember is along the way we are going to find true lengths and possibly even true shapes. So when we want to develop the surface, those true lengths are going to be very useful. Now, we also have an issue with D and F over here. Now, just before I jump any further, I'm going to put D and F over here, and which means B and E, while it could go up, it could crash into it over this side. So I'll put B and E down there. Now, when we look at D and F, we are missing a point. We don't know where this guy is. Okay, so this is going to be a really nice bit of practice for how do we do a dihedral angle backwards, because we're given the angle and we're going to work back from there. And it turns out it's actually not that hard at all, but it's just worth taking a bit of practice on. Now, I'm going to have a little bit of fun with the sun today because after being nice and quiet all morning, it's decided to go bright and dark all the time, so that'll be a good crack. Now, since I want to come down here with B and E and I'm on A3 paper here, I don't need much space up the top here. Now, I don't actually know how big that is. However, if I was to take a bit of a guess, all right, that's 9 meters and that's about the same, okay? Scale is 1 to 100, so let's just think about our scale here for a moment. Okay, so we have 9 meters goes to, so that's 9,000 millimeters divided by 100 is 90 millimeters. Okay, you can put a few of the rest of them in here, but actually you can see it's fairly straightforward. So I'm going to leave maybe on my page 110 millimeters. Okay, to the top of the page, and then I have a load of space down there. So that's how I kind of figure these things out. Again, if it's A2 paper in an exam, just stick it in the middle and you'll be grand. Don't be that person who decides to take a big sheet of A2 and put it down in the corner. It happens. You laugh. I've seen an entire mock paper done on one sheet of A2 paper. Didn't work out so well. Okay, so there we are, about 110 from the top. Now, we will put this roughly center in the page. Leave a bit of space here, so we just put our X, Y there. And let's see what we know. Well, we have all of these measurements here across the bottom, the 7, the 15, so that's going to be 22. So 22 meters is 220 millimeters. That's actually pretty big, so let's lay that one out first. There we go. I have to actually extend this a little bit further. And we'll use the measurements on this guy here. So from 12 to 34 should work out fairly well for me. Now I'm going to put this down here, lock our focus, and hope the sun behaves itself for the next little while. Okay, we also need to come out by 7, so 12 plus 7 is 19. There we go. And we can project down. Now we'll leave a 20 mil gap as always. Actually project this right down here. So we know that that's going to be 6 meters and then another 9. So I'll box it off as 9. And actually, you know what? I'm going to leave a 10 mil gap this time because this is feeling like a fairly big drawing. Okay. It's just a 10 mil gap. And then we need the 6 meter point there. Okay. And we can just project this right across, down, across. So we can begin to see what we can build up. Now again, sometimes I like to put in the heavy bits where I can. I can see that's going to be a heavy line the whole way across. This is going to be a heavy line all the way down on the edge. A lot of action happening on this edge, so we'll put that in a moment. And this line here, we'll bring that up because we do have something going up high there. There we go, that comes across, this comes down. just this allows us to see the shape of everything and where it's going to sit. That's a terrible, terrible line. So, random point of curiosity, why that was so terrible, even though it was drawn on this one, was I actually tilted the pencil as I drew, because I was paying attention to the bin lorry outside, how it was going to ruin my audio. But you can control where exactly the line sits by angling the pencil. It's a useful little technique most of the time when you pay attention to it and do it on purpose. Okay, let's see what else we have going on here. Well, I'm going to stick in the measurements along here, because again, with all these things, I like to work from easy to hard. So we have 2 and then 2.5. And then come in by 2 there. So this one goes right back along here. This is the middle of it. We just throw it into construction. We don't really know where this stops at the moment. And we do have those points that come down to it. Again, we don't know where some of this is, and that's fine. Wouldn't be worried about that for the moment. Let's see what we can begin to figure out. Well, I can draw this line up here, and I don't know how high it is yet. I can draw this line up here, and I can draw this line up at 40. So you can see I'm going to be able to see where these two meet, where this apex is, and that's going to lock in my height. Okay, so let's put the two 60 degree ones going up there. All right, that's from surface A, so that's A and that's B. And then the other one is coming up from bottom of C, so it's there. Okay, protractor time. Up and there, 40 mil, and then just carefully you don't kind of go into the obvious thing, you know, seeing that big line there and assuming that's it, that's 45. Here's my 40 mil line just there. Okay. Yeah, and I can actually see that is going to be a heavy line the whole way up. Since I hate protractors, I'm not going to do it again. Instead, I'm going to do a parallel line construction. So we'll just line that up like that. There we go. And what do we know about this one? We actually don't know where the base of B is yet. That's one of our annoying things. So we're not ready for that yet. But we do know the heights match. So let's just come over here and do that. Now we have the height of that one. And now we can go back in the parallel line. And that's going back somewhere to here. And actually it will stop at this line, so we can draw this heavy up until that point. Now I'll go back in, heavy in my 60 degree lines, keep it nice and tidy. There we go. And there we go. Okay, so that's kind of coming together. Oh, we have an apex there and there. We can project those down. There it goes. And let's bring this guy down too. Okay, so where else can we go on this one? So we've got a lot of that bits and pieces. We need to figure out where E is. Do we know much about E? Not yet. However, I do know if I look at the bottom of this guy, it comes straight across the top of F. So let's stick that in, and that'll be really useful, because if I know where that is, I know where that is, I can draw a load of these things. Okay. So again, never be worried about not looking at this drawing and not knowing where to get the whole thing done together. It happens all the time. I never let that get in the way at all. It's just a case of piecing away in the drawing, seeing what you can figure out, and you'll be amazed how it begins to come together then. And we just narrow down the collection of things that we don't know until they eventually disappear. And you'll be amazed. Sometimes people look at a question and go, oh my god, they've asked for a trace, it's something really weird and difficult. And actually what you'll find is, out of the 45 marks for the question, there's 2 going to that. Okay, so don't get too worried about the unusual pieces at the end that are often very, very small marks. Okay, so now I know where this kind of guy F is, and that's F there. I don't know how high this is going, so I can't draw that bit of it yet. But we're getting there. So the nice thing now I look at is when I see this, I look at these lines going across and I have a load of the information to do E. So let's send this across here. So if we begin to piece these together, I will have a point there and somewhere else along this line. Of course, it's going to go across and meet there. So that point will go up to here, go across. So this is where E comes in, and this guy's going to go down. Okay, so there's another little bit of E, and they're going to meet somewhere down here in the valley, and they're going to meet where this guy begins to come down. So actually it's just there, so I can see the point. So let's project that straight down. Alright, and we know that that point is along the line here. Okay, you can see all this. This is all just in the drawing. I'm following these little lines, and that's going to piece together. So now I have that triangle, and I can get the rest of the bits and pieces. Just in time for the sun to come out and blind us. There we go, we'll lock that in. Now, so we'll go draw E in here. So that is surface E, and I like to label them. Just it means I know what I'm looking at, I know what I'm doing. I'm not confusing bits and pieces back and forth. And of course B has to come across here to meet the bottom of E. So see that little bit there. And now we can complete surface B. Alright, that's C, that's D, and yep. Alright. So that's all those guys done. Now, so we've determined the elevation plan of dormer window E, so we're down to here. And now we want the dihedral between B and E. Now they love the dihedrals, they've got to come up somewhere, and I may as well get used to them. So I'm going to use the two auxiliary method for this one. And again, I'm going to come down this way, so auxiliary elevation one will be down here. I could go up that way, but like I said, I think F's construction is going to happen up there. So I'll just come down here for neatness, and then we'll see where we go after that. I don't have a lot of space left, so I'm going to keep this fairly tight. Okay, so we want B and E, so we'll just come clear the drawing. X1, Y1. Now, what points am I going to bring? Well, let's celebrate this decision with some fabulous colour. So I will take these 3 points in E, because they're the 3 points I have for E. But what about B? Well, I only need one more point in B, apart from these two here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this one on B. Okay, so this is the little section of B that I'm taking with me. Okay, why did I choose that one? Because at the same height there. Now, all of this is happening up very high here, so because I'm getting a little concerned about how much space I have, I'm going to take a measuring line at that bottom point there. So let's go over and we'll just put that measuring line in green here. That's a measuring line M sub L. Okay, so let's call these points 1, 2. That's 1, that's 2. This one's going to be 3. And this one is going to be 4, and it's sitting behind 2. Okay, it's kind of coming out this way. Right, off we go. Get this out of the way. Make sure we're on camera at the bottom of the page. We'll just scoot this up a little bit so we can see what we're doing. So I'm going to use my sliding set square to get a perpendicular line. So let's project down there. There's 1, 3, Okay, and again, 2 and 4, I'm not too worried about. I know they're actually going to be on the line here. So 2 and 4 are on my measuring line. So that's 4 there. There's 4. There's 2. 3 and 1 are a little bit higher, and actually they're the same height. So you can see how this is a fairly easy one to do. There's my height there. That's 1. That's 3. And that height, just to remind you in case you're forgetting, we'll call that H1, and that is where we got that from there. I shouldn't be forgetting because I've been blue in the face telling you how to do dihedrals, but you know, we've been practicing like mad, but hey, it happens. So let's connect 1 and 2. There we go. So that is my kind of line of intersection. And there's 3. And again, because this is only construction, I'm not really going to worry about what's visible and what's not visible. Is that line hidden? 1, 2, 4 is there. Okay, we can just draw these in like this. All right, so that was auxiliary 1. Okay, x1, y1 is parallel to 1, 2. Auxiliary 2 is along it. Okay, so this is going to work out kind of nicely because we're looking along the line of intersection, along this way. Okay, auxiliary 2 is along 1 to 2. Happy days. So now let's get ourselves x2, y2 line, which is just going to be perpendicular to the way we're looking. There's there. x2, y2, just perpendicular to the way we look. Again, let's think about, do we need measuring lines, do we not? So the way I'm going to check this is what's our biggest drawing there. Okay, so we are going, of course, from x1, y1 back to here. That's 3. It's going to be somewhere out there. It's going to be really tight. So let's take a measuring line again. All right. Now, I'll do this in orange just so we can see it a little bit more clearly. So my second measuring line, again, you can see in A2, this would be no problem at all. So I'll come back and just make life easy by taking it from the lowest point. So that's 1 point done. There's our measuring line. And now, we'll just project these guys along here. There it is. That's 1 and 2 sorted out. There's 3. And I know 4 is going to be on the line, so I can just stop it there. So that's 4. Let's figure out where the rest of them are. Shouldn't be too big at this stage. So these distances, okay, 1 and 2 are going to be the same distance because the measuring line is parallel to x1, y1, which is parallel to 1, 2. So you can see there it's the same. That's 1 and 2. Again, just in case we're not sure, that's H2, and that's it there. So you don't have to use measuring lines, but I'm doing them because I'm going to go off the page on my A3 paper. And let's get 3 here. There's 3. 3 is this line. There we go. Now you can see why you've been labeling these guys, because it'd be so tempting to go like that and that and get the whole thing together. But of course you'd be completely wrong if you did that. Okay, we're just going to scoot this up even further and see can we knock my water glass off the table. But of course 4 connects to 1, 2 because that's surface 1, 2, 4, which is, okay, that's surface B. And 1, 2, 3. Okay, 1, 2, 3 is just surface E. And that's your dihedral there. All right. Once you label them, it's absolutely no problem or no difficulty to figure out what to do. Let's see if we have a protractor left somewhere in this mess. We can throw a little measurement on this guy. Now, in order to measure, I'm just going to have to extend the line out a bit so I can see it. We'll pop that down there. I'm going to extend this line out so we can see it further. and I am getting, remember I'm coming from this way because it's bigger, 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 and we are hitting 120, which is this line, and there, so I'm getting 122 on that one. Right, so something along that region, something 120 to 125, you should be doing well. Okay, now let's bring this back down here, see if we can see anything in the sunlight, and figure out where to go next. What is our next little bit of a question? It's to develop the surface E. Now this is something that may be a little bit newer. Okay, there's loads of ways we can do it. We could do auxiliaries if you like a load of hard work. You haven't had enough auxiliaries so far. But I would say the easiest way to develop surface E is just to flip it up. So you imagine it's a little triangle like this, and we're just going to flip it up so we can see it in the elevation. So we will take 1, 3 as our hinge, and we just flip 2 up. Now, at a glance, the first step is fairly straightforward. Okay, if we rotate around 1, 3, 2 is just going to go somewhere up along there. So there's my set square. This comes up. With the pointy bit that's moving is 2, it's just moving in a line, somewhere up along there. But how far? All right, now the key to this is true lengths. Is there anywhere we have a true length of 1 to 2 or 3 to 2? And whenever you see true lengths, think dihedrals, because that's where we see true lengths. And then we do have it, of course, here. So this here is a true length of 1 to 2. All right, so what we do is we take it from there. We bring it up here. That's 1 to 2. So there's the true length. 2 has to be somewhere on this arc. Of course, it has to be here. Okay, so that arc, we'll just pop that in orange, is the true length of 1 to 2. So 1 to 2 is somewhere along that line. We know it's on this one, so there it is there. And that, just like that, is how we figure this out. It's glad to see that a load of that happened off camera after all that work, but you know, you have a look here, you can get the idea. Of course, there to there is the true length of 1 to 2. So this arc is a collection of all the points that are the true length away from 1. So 2 is on the arc. It rotates up this way, so 2 is there. And now we can draw that in. And when they say develop the surface, we do want to see it. Okay, so draw it in there nice and heavy. And that is E. Okay, you can give it a little label, surface E. Okay, I'll just throw a little bit of shading on it so you can see it a bit more clearly. But this is the development of E. All right, so we're flying. Now we just have our epoxy weir dihedral, which they're making us do it backwards. Now, never be worried about these ones. Frankly, I mean, what you need to know is it can be done. I wouldn't even get too upset over remembering exactly how to do it, because we just got to push ahead in our normal method, and it'll sort of make itself clear. So we're looking for the dihedral of D to F. Okay, so we take an auxiliary elevation, looking perpendicular to see the true length of the intersection. Grand. And look, let's just go from there, see what we have, see what we don't have, and see what we get. Step 1, of course, since we realised this could go badly wrong, is to number them. Now you can go back 1, 2, 3, 4 if you like. I think just for completeness, I'm going to go 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, so there is 5 and 6. Okay, that's got to be 7 since I have it. And 8 is going to be somewhere in around here. And I think I'm going to pick this point here as 8. Okay, so just, again, we'll just shade this in very lightly in green. I'm just taking this as a section of D. All right, I don't need the whole surface, it's flat. So if I can get the dihedral between that section and F, it's the same as the rest of it. All right, you could bring the rest of it along if you like extra work, but usually people are happy enough to do this. Okay, so where to get our set squared away so we don't make a mess of things. And we get auxiliary 1. Well, we're going to look perpendicular to this. Oops. Yeah, and do take the time to get this properly parallel. I knocked it there slightly. So x1, y1 is parallel to 5, 6. Okay, x1, y1 is parallel to 5, 6. Right, let's get some projection lines in. Now, There is 5, 6. 6 is it on the ground? 6 is on the ground. Yep, that'll be kind of handy. Now, often I find is you get one of these projection lines sorted, and then you can just do parallels. It's a bit easier to work with. 8's on the ground, so we just have to extend x1, y1. It's a rather unfortunate choice of positioning of y, but we live and learn. So 6 and 8 are both on the ground down there. So that's 8. And that's 6. 7's a bit higher up. Don't know how high yet. And 5, we do know how high 5 is. Okay, that's 5. Okay, a nice little shadow just where we need to do our drawings. That unfortunately is part of my window, so that's not getting changed in a hurry. So there we are, the height to 5. And that's how we find 5. Okay, so we have 5, 6, 8, which is one of my surfaces. Okay, so that's part of D. And 5, 6, 7, we don't know where 7 is, so it's somewhere along there. However, we do have the next bit we need to do. Okay, so we'll just push this slightly here. Because for auxiliary 2, we look along the line of intersection, which is 5, 6. Look along 5, 6. Well, we can do that. So let's not worry about the bits we're missing. Let's just look along and see where we get to. All right, x2, y2 is perpendicular to that. Now 7, to be honest, 7 is going to be somewhere up here. Okay, it's a little lower, it's about there, so I just need to be careful about not going off my page. So we'll just put this pretty tight through my drawing. I'm not having a good day with where to draw my comments really, am I? So that's x2, y2. All right, 5 and 6 go down along this way. That's going to be where things are going. That's absolutely going to go off the page. So let's put another measuring line in. I think we'll go back to green for this one. Now, what we're going to do, I think we're actually going to make a little bit of a move because that is a bit trickier for you guys to see. So there we go. So measuring line. Bring x1, y1 down. Put it at 7. Okay, and that's my measuring line. You can do these all over the place. So 7's somewhere on that line. Great. It's probably going to be right in the middle of all the letters. 5 and 6 are just a bit above it. There we go. So 5 and 6 are here. Okay, and I know they're both there because the measuring line is parallel to the line of intersection. They're both going to be the same, but you can check it if you need to. And 8's a bit further. So there's the line for 8, so we just actually need to project 8. Somewhere along there. That much along there. Now, so I can connect 5, 6, and 8 because that is still surface D. So look, 5, 6, 8, part of D. That's surface D. All right, so all of this stuff we just kind of plugged along and got to where we need to go to. We know that 7 is going to be on the x2, y2 because I defined it as that by using my measuring line. Okay, and if I didn't have my measuring line, I'd just have a line somewhere along here where the distance would match that. Okay, so 7's somewhere on the line. We also know the angle of it. Okay, so it's going to be something like this. And the angle here is going to be 120 degrees. So let's have a little look at this guy, line that up. We pick at 120 degrees, which is, we're doing good here. This is right in the middle of my writing, as we would expect. There we go. So that's 120 degrees. Now, which means 7 has to be there. We know it's on the x2, y2 line because it's on the measuring line. We've defined it that way. And we know it's on the line of 120 degrees because that gives us our dihedral. So that tells us where 7 is. Now, watch what happens. We just do it all backwards. So we put 5 and 6 here by projecting from auxiliary 1. So we just kind of work backwards. 7 projects back like that. Well, we know 7 is also here. So that has to be 7 in auxiliary 1. Now, you don't actually have to connect this, but I'm going to do it just for a little bit of completeness. So there's 5, 6, 7. All right. What do we not know here? We don't know how high it is. But actually, hang on a second. Remember, this is an auxiliary elevation. So this is just another way of looking at something by moving around on the floor. So the heights are the same. All right. So the height for 7 is there. 7 is vertically above it. So normally you put a little line in first, but I haven't. So 7 is somewhere there. Now I'll go back and just make a little note in that one. When I put this vertical line in, it's a bit easier to see. We know 7 is somewhere on the line. Okay, so we haven't used orange in a while. This height here, which we'll call H3, because we've used H1 and 2 up already, is this height here. Okay, and strictly speaking, it's a horizontal line from that point of intersection. But we can see that 7 is going to be there. So now we can just pop a little line in there. Complete these guys. Little heavy line in here to complete. And we're done. Okay, so lovely bit of practice. We'll bring the whole thing back into view here. Okay, it is a big enough drawing. Drawing this is nice and easy once you understand your pitch. So that's 60 degrees, 60 degrees, 40 degrees. Okay, a little bit of thinking to realize you come down sometimes as well as go up. Standard dihedral, nothing unusual there. And what we need to realize is in that dihedral we found our true length. And that makes finding the development of the surface quite easy. Okay, just flip it up. Again, I would always go to rotate before a dihedral if I get much of a choice in it. It's usually a little bit easier. And then finally, the backwards dihedral. Don't be scared of these guys. Know they work out. Push through, put all the bits in place. And then once you make that connection there, just reverse it all and it falls into place really nicely.